What up, y'all? Welcome back to the Past Journey, Present Progression podcast. This is season 3, man. I know y'all at home watching, man. Give me a round of applause, because I'm giving myself one. Hey, man. So, the first 2 seasons been interesting. You know, we kicking this 3rd season off, you know what I'm saying, with one of my family members, pretty much, you know, a great mindset, business mindset entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying? And she's really going to let y'all know what's going on, you know what I'm saying? Very smart, intelligent young lady, you know. Before we get the interview started, you know, I want y'all to subscribe, like, share, comment, download, whatever you got to do. Do all of that. You help support, spread the word of the platform, you know what I'm saying? And, y'all been doing a good job so far, you know. I appreciate you guys. I've been seeing my subscribers going up, more engagement on the contents, the comment side. Man, I appreciate you guys, man. Keep y'all continued support, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, my homegirl, my family member, Jennifer, however you guys know her as, or what you guys want to know her as, those are your 2 options. You know, I want to thank you for coming to the platform.
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's been a long time coming, you know, because I know you're a busy lady. You know, I know you got a lot going on, you know.
Just a little.
Man, and I appreciate the grind and the hustle, you know what I'm saying? Because you've been doing this for a while now, you know. I seen you, you try out several different things, man, and you be working, man, you know. I appreciate that, you know. That means a lot, you know. And I ain't on no sexist type shit, but, you know, that means a lot to see a woman being strong like that, you know. And
I appreciate that.
Having the tenacity, you know, the willpower, you know, all of that comes, that would make a person be like, yeah, I gotta go get that. You embody that, so I appreciate that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
For real. What we gonna do? We gonna start it off. You know, we gonna. I want you to tell the people a little bit about where you was raised at.
Well, I was born in Seattle, and I was basically raised in Washington. My dad is from Eastern Washington, and my mom is from Seattle, so I split my time. I went to school here, and I spent my summers on a farm in Eastern Washington.
Oh, the farm.
Mm-hmm.
What type of things you did on the farm out there?
We raised a lot of animals. We baled hay. We... my least favorite job was getting eggs from the chickens. I don't like chickens to this day for that.
Wow.
But yeah, we had emu, cows, but essentially we were a pig farm. So we raised pigs and sold them.
Wow, man, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? But I kind of I got a little bit of that in my past too, man. When I was young, my sister's dad, him and his brother and his cousin, they had my stepdad. He had a big garden. His cousin he raised pigs like he has or whatever. His cousin, his brother across the street, he had the cattle, the cows.
Yeah.
So I used to assist them guys sometimes when I was younger. So I got a little experience in that little type of life. So I know the type of things and the type of mindset you probably had back then.
Well, growing up here in the city in the 90s was different. And then going to a farm and they're like, oh, just leave the door unlocked. I'm like, you're crazy. As soon as everybody went to sleep, I locked everything. Windows, doors, everything was locked.
That's still a habit of mine today, locking. Like every time I come in the door, I have to lock it behind me. I don't care whose house I'm at, where I'm at, I gotta lock the door.
Before bed, you gotta check the whole house.
So when you was out there on that farm, are you the only child? You got siblings?
So I do. I have 2 sisters that are younger than me. We weren't necessarily raised together. My dad just was a rolling stone, I guess you would call him. So he was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So yeah, it's hard to explain. But essentially, I was an only child most of the year. And then for about a good 10 summers, me and my siblings were like really close together a lot. And then, before that, I didn't have siblings. And after that, we reconnected recently. So that's been a good journey to have.
That's cool, man. It's cool that you guys reconnected.
Yep.
And you guys' relationship is close,
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you, Facebook.
Even though, they them social media platforms and helped a lot of people in that way.
Yep.
What I know were you like the spoiled kid? Were you like which position you feel like you played throughout the siblings?
I was the mom. I've always been the mom. I don't know about nurturing, but when nobody's home at 2 a.m. and you have a 6-month-old sister, you deal with it.
Yeah.
You deal with it. Mm-hmm. So I was just always there. I don't really know that, definitely I was overprotective and possessive of my siblings and my cousins and my children. But I feel like that's just a product of where I come from and how I was raised.
Mm-hmm. That shows through your personality. If a person knows you, then they can be like, okay,
I wear that on my sleeve.
Yeah, I see why she's that way because that's good though that you, like I said, you're strong like that because that allows you to be a good example for your kids.
Yeah.
And I feel like kids, more than anything, they need a positive, consistent example. You know what I'm saying?
I will say too that though we are all human and mental health challenges are real. And letting your kids know that that's something that's real and that's something that you can deal with on a daily basis and still move forward is definitely something that challenges consistency, but it's something that's really good to share.
For sure. You hit the hammer on the nail with that one. Yeah, man. So, as a kid, outside just the farm life, you weren't involved in any type of sports or anything?
Oh, yeah. So I grew up in West Seattle. I've lived in West Seattle my whole life. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball since I was probably 6. But sadly, I grew up in an era where slow pitch softball was the predominant youth sport up until high school. And high school switched over to fast pitch. So by the time I got to high school, I was bunting. That's all I could do was bunt.
Is there a reason why it was set up that way?
I think it's just how things were changing at the time because sports change constantly. I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't have libero in volleyball. And now libero is one of the biggest players. If we didn't have a libero, we wouldn't have won the Olympics. She was amazing. So I think it really just kind of depends on where human beings are today and what that sport looks like today. Look at football.
Right.
I mean, you used to be able just to smash somebody. Now you have to definitely do it right because now we know enough to know that that's not healthy. So.
I don't understand how I get it, time, we evolve and all of that, but when it comes to sports and they want to take away some of the physical aspects of it, it's well, that's what made you guys what you are now, you know what I'm saying?
Let me pose you a paradox then. So your son becomes an NFL football player on the line and a wide receiver, and there's no rules against hitting them while they're completely blind or in the air, and your son becomes paralyzed. Are you going to wish there was a rule at that point? Or are you going to look forward and be like, you know what, I understand that the sport is less aggressive, which I agree is not as fun to watch. I grew up watching football since I was a little kid, and I love football, but I also, every time any player gets hurt, even on the opposing team, I'm like, oh my God, I hope that person's okay, because what if that was my kid or my brother or whoever? At the end of the day, we have to make sure that the people who play the sports can walk away from them and be alive for their kids and have a next generation of sports,
I totally agree. That's why I don't let my son play football. We talking.
Yeah, no, yeah, you gotta have the conversations because otherwise there will be change.
Yeah, that was an interesting perspective. You know what I'm saying? It was. So, okay, Seattle Rain, West Seattle Rain.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like a league or just a team? What is West Seattle Rain?
West Seattle Rain is an organization. So we are an organization that runs youth club leagues.
Mm-hmm.
So not only do we generally have a league for those that are not ready to do travel, but we also host travel teams.
Mm-hmm.
So what that looks like, depending on your age group, is you would have tournaments throughout your season. So you practice twice a week, you have tournaments throughout your season, and you travel either throughout Washington or throughout your region, which is basically like Washington, Idaho, and down south in that general width.
Okay. That's cool. I didn't know. Like, I did my research, but I want things nice to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
When was it established?
2 years ago, January 1st, 2020.
2020, man.
Yeah.
I must say you got a lot accomplished since then.
Absolutely. I am proud of my team for what they've been able to help me accomplish. I definitely couldn't have done it on my own. The first summer I was on my own, and I was working probably 15-hour days and coaching from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. plus doing business outside of those hours. So the minute I moved into the fall, we had because we're in West Seattle and the West Seattle Bridge is down, we had kind of, a captive audience, and sports weren't really as big, so we were able to host outside for an entire year. So we ran everything at the beach for an entire year, all the way through winter, and we only had to cancel like 5 practices.
Wow.
We got really lucky, so we were able to create a base that we may not have otherwise been able to do if it wasn't COVID, actually.
Yes. Man, I was going to get to that question later on. I was going to ask you, has COVID affected your business, and if so, how so? You know what I'm saying? And from what you just said, COVID actually kind of helped your business.
It did at first. At this point, though, because last year was so weird, I think we've lost some of the kids that may otherwise have tried out for us, which has really hurt our teams, essentially, because we had a really great group of kids. But I think because COVID restrictions are a lot less right now, there are clubs that have a bigger name that are able to do more than they were able to do during that year. And so I think that's something that's attracting kids, because we are only 2 years old. And like most clubs, one of the clubs in their first year only had like 2 kids at tryouts. We ended up servicing 180 individual children our first year. And we had 40 on teams our first year, which is amazing.
So in essence, it's like since the COVID, has, some of the restrictions are gone, it sounds like pretty much like all the competition pretty much came back outside, and that's what you're up against now, type shit. And yeah, I can see it. And it's like COVID, it has helped a lot of people, and me personally, I know it helped more people than it hurt COVID. Me personally, because I know a lot of people that's go-getters, entrepreneurs, if you will. Like we were speaking off camera, like most of the people that have been on my platform has been like people I know, and they're all entrepreneurs. You know what I'm saying? And a couple of them have became entrepreneurs during the COVID. Several before, but they're the ones that were entrepreneurs before COVID kind of like helped them more. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And one thing about COVID, it showed you like what type of person you are. Whether
Absolutely.
How can I word this without being offensive? Like, I feel like if you not in a better situation than you were before COVID hit, I kind of feel like you kind of slacking and not that's just my personal opinion. Because a lot of people I know, most of the people I know, have taken advantage of COVID in a legal way too. I ain't talking about illegal.
Absolutely.
And like they really have leveled up their game, you know,
Especially
because of the opportunities that was available, you know. So that's just why I say my personal opinion is that. What's your perspective? Talk to me.
So, I mean, I agree with you somewhat. Like, for me, business-wise, obviously, COVID gave me more time to deal with my business and to focus on it. In the same respect, back to, like, mental health, there were days, like, anxiety-wise, where I'm watching the news and I can't even move all day. I'm like, I can't let my kids out the house. I have to spray everything down at the grocery store. I gotta wear duct tape suits. Like, I gotta figure it out. But I think it also, in maybe a summary of what you said, is it kind of just shows you what kind of survivor you are going to be. Whenever there's a time to survive, you're either going to find a way to survive and find a way through that, or you're not. And I think that maybe, like, the biggest thing that COVID did was separate people into understanding, like, what category am I in.
You worded it better than me. You worded it better than me.
I'm a little political sometimes.
Yeah, you worded it better than me. I appreciate that. You cleaned it up. For your company, though, how important is it for you to create a diverse community?
It's so important. That's the most important thing, besides making sure that kids can play. Obviously, for me, for sports, it's about the kids playing. Like, I've gone into a situation in the last year where sometimes I'll put myself a little bit underwater just to make sure that a kid can get a scholarship to play on a team, because they deserve that scholarship and they're working hard. But for me, diversity is right there with that. And I think that's something that I'm struggling with, how to create that in my environment, by finding people that have much different perspectives than myself. To that point, like, we have people in the LGBT community, we have men, we have women, but the diversity in, so I hate to say race, because to me we're all the human race. There wasn't a race a long time ago other than a Homo sapien, which we all are. So for me, ethnicity would be something that I would really like to find a way to engage differently, to where I can create a space to find those people who do have volleyball skills and who want to, or basketball, and who want to be a part of a community that wants to create that. I do have diversity in some places, but not in necessarily everywhere. And that's the thing where I feel like, I can't necessarily have a basketball coach teach a volleyball drill just to be able to have a conversation, right? And I think that's something that coaches of different ethnicities can do, just in being in the room, just in hearing something and saying something about what they're hearing, or if something comes up, having those conversations. Last year, we had a situation where there was a conversation that was overheard about a priest, but the person who overheard it didn't hear that they were talking about a priest, and so there was some misconception about what was being said, particularly related to LGBTQ. And we literally sat down with every single team, their head coaches, and I would start the conversation. We would kind of make sure that everybody understood general terms, and everybody got to speak like their gender identities, and if they wanted to. And we got to talk about some things, but in that, I realized also that, like, our players, I'd like to be able to find more diverse players, and we live in a neighborhood that is not necessarily as diverse in that sport. And so I'm kind of just struggling with, like, where do I get the word out? How do I get the word out? Because I definitely promote all over Seattle. Every neighborhood we have signs, but I'm just not getting the people through the door. And I don't know how to do that effectively. So that's something that I'm working on.
Yeah. Well, but, like, I appreciate that. But other side, on the brighter side, you're still growing.
Yeah.
You only
we are new.
2 years deep.
I kind of want to be here though.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Trust me, I would go through the same. Like you're talking about off camera.
Yep.
Go through the same thing, man. But it's like, why does it have to be that type of process? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I wish it were a little easier, but good things are never that easy. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that same thing we stress to the kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Win or lose, you still got to go home and be you. So.
Yeah, for sure. Like as far as joining, right? Is there like a certain criteria that the kids have to meet?
Nope. So for us, we have volleyball and basketball, basically ages 6 to 18, and we don't really have any restrictions. We do tryouts for basketball 3 times a year, tryouts for volleyball once a year, and we have clinics and camps year round. So we'll be having camps and clinics coming up for Christmas break.
Okay. Now you said you do tryouts for the basketball 3 times and volleyball 1. What's the particular reason why you only do 3 and 1, or just why not 3 and 3?
So basketball club season is a finicky thing. We haven't fully found like a league that has a particular season. So what we've been doing is we've been hosting 3 seasons. So we'll host like a fall winter season, which goes about 2 weeks into their basketball at high school or middle school.
Okay.
And then we host a spring season and a summer season. And we do that, I don't know about everywhere, but in our particular community, a lot of kids leave for the summer. So we host a separate tournament tryout for that, because if we did spring and summer, some kids wouldn't be able to participate. And we want everybody to participate.
Well, it makes sense. I just...
Yep. And volleyball has a very strict season. We're regulated by USA Volleyball.
USA Volleyball? Oh, wow. And it is... what other sports are regulated by them guys besides volleyball?
So USA Volleyball is its own entity. They are the people who kind of do like the Olympic teams.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure if USA Basketball is called USA Basketball, but there's kind of a little one for each sport.
Oh, okay.
So depending on what sport you coach, you can go into these governing bodies. In basketball, though, it's USA Basketball does not govern, like the Olympic Basketball Committee does not govern that.
Okay.
We've been doing like junior NBA and AAU. AAU is the predominant governing body in basketball that we're aware of.
Okay. Do you teach the kids like, or do your whole staff, do you guys teach the kids like any other life skills outside of like basketball and volleyball?
Absolutely. So we teach growth mindset, and we teach what we call the player perseverance program, which essentially is leading by example, talking to them about wins and losses, talking to them about how to be a good teammate, talking to them about how to talk to each other. Like right now in volleyball, we have 2 boys on our girls team because in our area we don't have enough boys for a team, which of course we'd love to, but we just don't have enough boys for a volleyball team yet. So we have 2 of our boys playing on our girls team, and boys and girls communicate differently in general. Obviously there are exceptions to every rule,
Right.
but in general, boys, if you say, you've got this, you can win this, boys are going to be like, I got this. If you tell a girl that, she's going to be like, but we're a team. I'm not out here by myself. Don't isolate me. You know, like generally speaking, obviously I'm not that girl, and there are many other girls who are not that girl.
Yeah.
But when you're coaching a team, I've realized that is the general rule. Like one of our boys was yelling, he was like, great serve. And one of our girls was like, why is he yelling at me? You know, and I think that's just a fundamental difference in people. And if you can learn to talk to people and teach people how to talk to people, that's probably the biggest thing you can do for somebody else.
Yeah, that's, you got a good point there, and that's big. Uh, that's interesting to know that perspective. I wouldn't have thought that. Like, and you say you encounter that a lot in the sports, in the volleyball. Wow, I would have thought that. That's interesting to know. You learn something new every day,
Right?
Um, like, is there a certain level of transparency that you must keep with the parents and staff and the athletes, like, to ensure the success of what you got going on?
I feel like there is. I don't know that everybody in this industry does feel that way, but I definitely feel that way. I've been a parent in some football situations, and there's no way I would run my business that way. There's no way I would treat people who are paying me to be there with their kids. There's no way that I would not inform them of things or not ensure the kids' safety. The first thing for me is whether the kids are safe and able to play. If a kid does not feel safe, or if they're potentially going to be injured because of something I didn't teach them, or something that's happening on the court that I could say something to a referee about, I'm going to do that regardless of the repercussions of that, or if somebody feels like that may be too safe, right? Like how in football, right? So I think for me, the biggest thing is transparency. Like, we have a tournament that's supposed to come up in February in Vegas, and we got waitlisted for our tournament. So I told the parents, I said, hey, we got waitlisted for our tournament. Do you want me to find other tournament, like, alternatives, just in case it doesn't happen, and we can find a different one and go still travel to Vegas? So of course they're like, yeah. So we took votes, we did all this stuff. So we have a contingency plan. I know that there are other clubs who have just told their athletes it's pending, and they've already sent out hotel information. How is that something that you can do? Because what if somebody is like, oh, the hotel's inexpensive, I'll just pay no refund. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's different levels to transparency, but as much as possible.
That's and I appreciate that, because I'm a parent too, right? I would want somebody to have, like, full transparency with me, when they're dealing with my kid, because anything's possible.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, we need to know who's going to be reliable, and what type of thing goes on when my kid's not in my presence.
Yep.
Are they going to be safe? Is that guaranteed? Like, it's a lot of different levels, like you said, to be transparent, that you have to, or not you have to, but I feel like it's a good thing that you feel like it's important.
I definitely do. I recently took an impact training, which is part of USA Volleyball, and they said statistically, when they took a poll, coaches are the number 2 influence in a child's life.
Coaches.
Teachers are after that. Obviously, it depends on the kid, right? Like, if they're not super into sports in schools, their primary interaction with somebody in that role, then obviously that's going to be different for them. But based on the study that they took of athletes, coaches are second to parents.
Man, I could see that, like you said, first of all, it depends on the individual kid, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if a good coach, I can see that, because a coach could be a good coach or a bad coach, and that can still be impactful. Either one could be impactful in the kid's life. They're with them all the time. I can see that happening. I mean, I can see that statistic being that way. I can see why it is that way.
Yeah.
Why were I don't know if I think I asked you this already, or you already spoke on it, but why are basketball and volleyball the two choices of sports you chose to get involved with?
So to be honest with you, football was my second sport to volleyball. Volleyball is my passion, and my community has lacked a consistent volleyball club for a really long time. So our athletes travel to Kent, they travel to Redmond, they travel to Mercer Island, and they're traveling at 7 to 10 p.m., you know, because usually they don't get out till 9, depending on the age group. And then sometimes they start at 5. How are you going to get out of West Seattle when your kid gets out at 4 and get somewhere by 5 and feed them? And, you know, like, my community just needed it, and I love it. So that's where I started. And then my second sport, I wanted it to be football, to be honest with you, because of the experience I had in football for like 5 years. And the volunteer dad situations, right? Like, volunteer parents are amazing, but sometimes they're not. And that can make it really tricky. So to be able to hire our coaches, and we have situations where we do have dads who are like, hey, I want my team to be able to play competitively, but I don't have the ability to do like the schedule and all the stuff you're doing. Can you like host us all volunteer, and you can charge us for the gym time? I'll do that. I've done that before. It's not about just volunteer parents, but I think if there's no level of consistent education and required education, updated required education, and somebody to be accountable to when something goes wrong, I think that that's a situation where kids are in a lot of danger. You know, I've had challenges primarily in football where kids are getting, like, I had to watch the kid get tackled on the leg, so he's down on his knees. The other kid tackles the top half, so he's bent back. And our coach is like, you're fine, get up. No, that's a problem. That's a problem with the referee or with the league. That's a problem. And until I can find somebody in the football world who knows what I know about volleyball, I can't do that.
Right.
Because I'm not going to be able to give the program exactly what it needs. I know what my limitations are, and I put people in positions that know more than me to run things that I don't fully know.
Makes you genius.
You know, registration, got it. Admin, got it. Bookkeeping, got it. You need equipment? Great. Making sure that we have quality coaches who know enough about the sport, because you can ask them an intelligent question and say, hey, what is this term that I may not know?
Right.
That's what I need somebody for. So we looked for a program coordinator for football, but we just didn't have really good luck with that. And then basketball was always our third sport that we were going to introduce. It's my husband's passion, and he knows about it. So he's able to have those conversations with coaches, and he's able to say, like, did you play rec ball? Who's your favorite coach and why? You know, he's able to have conversations where he can hear the tone and inflection of the coach and understand where they're coming from. And that's something that I can do in volleyball. And we, you know, any coach that he has hired, we've not had a problem with. 2 coaches that I hired because he wasn't able to interview them, I've had an issue. So I stick by my philosophy. If I'm not the expert, I will put an expert in that position.
So the two of you guys is like the yin and the yang per se, you know, because like you said, he's able to detect the tone and their voice and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to do what you do, you know, which makes it come together like that. So that's good. You're able to recognize that and take advantage of that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just a blessing just to have that period, though, you know, because I'm pretty sure, obviously, it helps you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I also have one employee who I worked with at my job before that I got laid off from and then opened my business. And she was always my inside salesperson. So I ran $12 million a year in sales. That's what I did before this, which is like probably the most stressful thing I've ever done in my life, was have children and run millions of dollars in sales.
Right.
And she was my everything. Like I could just tell her what I needed and it happened. And vice versa. You know, if she needed help, I was able to jump in, and we made a really good team. So they started laying off a bunch more people, and she got laid off, and I was like, hey, so I got this business. You want to come with me?
So for her, it was like once one door closed, another one open type situation, right? When you needed get some assistance, or man,
Yeah.
that's
Now she's my operations manager. So
see that it was meant to work that way. You know? And like it'd be like little things like that that happen along your journey that let you know that you're on to the right thing too.
Yep.
Like, it don't always be about like, okay, like for me it ain't always about the subscriber, what it is, but like right now it's like certain little things that then fell in place for me outside of podcasting that pertains to the podcast. It then fell in place, like, so it'd be little things like that that happen for you to let you know you're onto the right thing that should keep you motivated and doing what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
It's like the subscribers are the success that you see as the reward for working hard and doing the things on the backside that are falling into place.
Yeah. So that's interesting right there, man. What's all about you, man? You know what I'm saying? You were you done talking about the sports? Though? Because I want to get all your story, man. You know, I feel like the people need to know your story. You know.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Because you done blessed me today. I asked you about the COVID and stuff already, though. I wanted to ask you about. You run this company by yourself? Nobody?
I am the sole owner of this company, yes.
Okay.
So I started the company by myself. I had about $200 and I went and got a license through the Secretary of State.
That's a perfect segue, you know what I'm saying? Because the purpose, the main purpose for people coming to the podcast, I ask everybody, like, what were the first 5 things they did to start their business, you know what I'm saying? Starting with the business license, you know what I'm saying? And therefore, so if you will, tell me, like, or tell the people, like, the first 5 things you did to get your company going.
So I actually think that the most interesting 5 things happened before the business
Everybody
license.
say that. Everybody say that. First come up with your idea, and come up with your plan. Everybody say that.
But it's not like, for me, I didn't write like a comprehensive business plan.
Yeah.
I looked out there. I said, okay, there is nobody doing what I'm doing. I've been coaching for 12 years. I already have athletes that know me. I think I can do this. And then I researched an LLC because in my industry, injuries are prone to happen, right? Obviously, there are also situations where you could hire somebody that you think is amazing and they're not amazing and they become a liability. So I researched an LLC just to give myself a little bit of distance if anything ever did happen. But I put, we have like a sexual harassment and awareness policy that is 15 pages long. So we are well engaged. Our coaches all go through about 30 hours of training before they ever touch a court with an athlete. So I set it up not to fail, but I protected myself in case it did. So I set it up as an LLC, and then I turned myself into an S Corp. So essentially, I am a corporation. I pay taxes like a corporation, but I run my business like an LLC as a sole LLC owner. And that probably is the most interesting part because I never knew how many different ways there were to run your business, and that it really matters what you choose based on what you do. Like if you go into security, you definitely want like an LLC, an S Corp, a corporation. Like you want to be protected because you're sending officers, potentially armed security officers, out into the world, and they're people. People do what people do. So you have to protect yourself. But there are so many options and there's so much information out there that you can use to help yourself create that for yourself. Yeah. So that's probably the most interesting thing that I did, obviously after making sure I could make money at it. And then I think the next couple things were figuring out like what is it going to take to create this business. So I was lucky enough, I love volleyball. I play volleyball. I had 10 volleyballs and myself. and I found some free park space during COVID, and I just created clinics and camps, and I paid for a $15 software, and all of that has then since essentially paid for itself going forward. So I've not had to put any money into my business other than the $200 I started with. So
y'all hear that? She did a lot of things. She haven't put no money into her business but the $200 she started with. Now, I know everybody's journey is going to be different. I know all of the obvious, right? But this is proof that it can be done only if you really want to do it. You know, you got to do the groundwork to do it. Like, you'll never know what can get done until you fucking actually start to do it. You know, it'd be other little things that comes with what you're trying to actually get to that you don't even realize or calculate that's gonna take place for you. But it happens, you know. But won't none of that stuff happen unless you take initiative and be assertive to make it happen. So, and another thing, you know, for me, in my experience, there's never a perfect time.
it's
Just
like having
do
a
that
baby.
shit. Just do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Just do it.
I've been scared basically the entire time. Like there are days where I wake up at 3 a.m. like, is this gonna work? Are people gonna sign up? But my consistency and my program are working, and I see that in the results. And on those days, I'm like, okay, it's working. People like what I'm doing, and I think that's the nature of business because that's the nature of life. It's a river. When you're at the very bottom of the lowest part, just remember you're gonna be up again, and that's the only thing you can do.
Keep your sanity. I feel like, you know, you have to always look at, you know, the other side. You know, as long as you feel like you're still going to be living, you still always should look at the other side, you know. But then whatever you're going through at the moment, like you just said, and that's not going to be that forever. You know what I'm saying? The other side is bound to happen, you know. So try to keep your sanity and have to think by thinking that way, you know what I mean? I agree with you. We was on number 3, 4 of things you had to do to start your business?
I think so, yeah. I think we're on 4.
Okay, what's the 5th one then?
So the step for me after that, once I got enough equipment from doing the clinics myself, I hired somebody. So that was my 5th step. But this is also a service business, right? So it really just depends. Like, if you're in a business where you can do the load by yourself, do that as long as you can, because that's clearly the most profitable you can be, right? You're paying you and that's it. But in a service industry where you're supporting, 40 to 100 athletes in 3 months, you need help, and you have to recognize when you need help. I think that was the hardest thing for me, though, was like, oh, I have to give other people money, like not for something that I then own, right? But ultimately, I own the brand. So I started to look at it as, okay, yeah, I'm paying these people. I should pay them well because I expect them to do certain things. So like for us, we've paid, like the only people making minimum wage are our 16s working part-time. They make minimum wage helping out. So our 16U athletes are able to work clinics with our U12 athletes. So that's a way for them to help. And then they can also get volunteer hours that way for school. And for our coaches, everybody starts out at $17.50 or above. So our assistant coaches make $17.50, and our head coaches make $18 to $20, depending on how long they've been with us and their experience. Because minimum wage is now going up from $16.65 or whatever it is. All of our 16s will make $17.85, I believe, an hour, and then our head coaches will make our assistants will make 19, and our head coaches will make 21. And that's that's for a reason. I mean, we have really high expectations of our coaches. We expect our coaches to communicate with parents, athletes, and the club on a regular basis. If there's an incident at practice, we expect to hear about it. We expect you to be at every tournament and every practice unless you're sick. You know, we have high expectations, but that's also because we want consistency for our athletes and for our families. And to that, I work really hard to hire coaches for every team so that I can be an assistant for everybody. So if they need an assistant coach, or if it's a team that needs a third assistant, we do that. We make sure that that happens. So,
man,
that's why I sound like this.
Yeah, but that's why I said, that's proof in the pudding, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, you're working out here, and for the people who watching, they can hear it in your voice, the passion about, your work and what you do,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a relatable thing that people will take to, because we all go through that, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Man, this has been a great interview, man.
Thank you.
You came through, man. I appreciate you, man.
Of course.
Anytime you want to come through and promote anything, my platform is open to you. Yeah, Seattle Lane Sports, whenever you feel like you want to come promote anything, just let me know. The platform is open, man. Yeah. This has been season 3, episode 1, man. Miss Jennifer. Jen is what you know, what you want to know her as, and what you want to call her, man. Those are your 2 options, man. Shout out your social medias.
So we are on Facebook at West Seattle Rain, and we are on Instagram at West Seattle Rain. We also have a website, westseattlerain.com.
Yeah, man. Please, you guys, go support her, man.
And we're hiring coaches.
See? You need some employment, and you're passionate about what you're trying to. If you're passionate about the sports, we don't need you just going over there just because you want to get a check. We need you all going over there with some passion so you can deliver some authentic and true results. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We represent brands over here, and we're trying to build them and make them bigger than. People always say the sky the limit. No, the sky's not the limit. It's only the view. And you always remember that one. Go please follow her social medias. You know what I'm saying. You can also find me at Journey and Progression on Instagram, Cleezy B _TV on Twitter, the Past Journey Present Progression on Facebook. YouTube page, you already know what it is. I appreciate you guys. It's season 3 done jumped off. Y'all in for a treat, man. You know what I'm saying? And whatever you acquire to do, accomplish, whatever you acquire to obtain when you leave the house every day, go get it and come back home with it, man. Until the next episode, man. It's your boy Cleezy B, the Past Journey Present Progression podcast. We gone, man. Journey to present progression. Yeah.